In 1958, a British sociologist named Michael Young wrote a science fiction story. It contained no aliens and no monsters. It described a future Britain where everyone received exactly what their talent and effort deserved, and it was a horror story, ending in riots. He invented a word for this nightmare: meritocracy. Then something strange happened. Britain read the warning label and mistook it for a recipe. Within a few decades, every politician of every party was promising a meritocracy the way you'd promise good weather. This is the story of the game Britain pretends it isn't playing. The one where your starting square was chosen before you could walk. By the end, you'll know why. If you are working hard and staying poor, the fault is very probably not yours. And why? This is the strange part. Your smartest move is still to play hard. There is even a stretch of the board where effort genuinely pays. We'll find it. Arthur found the game spread across a village green, so large its far edge disappeared into the drizzle. Every person in Britain is a piece on this board, whether or not they agreed to play. The rules, as recited at every school assembly and in every job interview, take one sentence: work hard and you will rise. Arthur, who has learned to distrust one-sentence rules, went looking for the full rule book. He found it in the box under the spare dice. It runs to 400 pages, and most of them concern things that happen before a player's first turn. Because here is the first thing the assembly version leaves out. Nobody rolls for their starting square. It is stamped before you can walk, by postcode, by payslip, by whether the house you grew up in had a bookshelf. Consider two boys born the same rainy morning, Danny in Doncaster and Hugo in Surrey. The board starts Danny on square 3 and Hugo on square 64. Neither baby has done anything yet. One is already most of the way to the finish. The other cannot see it from where he stands. And the board remembers. The OECD, the club of rich countries that counts these things, reckons a family at the bottom in Britain takes around 5 generations to reach the middle. Not 5 years. 5 generations. A century and a half of playing properly. Then there are the cards. Most players draw from a deck called chance. A broken boiler, a good teacher, a bad landlord, a bus that came on time. But some squares entitle a player to a second deck, and its cards read rather differently. Advance directly to a good school. Do not pass the catchment area. Your godfather happens to know the admissions tutor. Take that unpaid London internship. The flat is grandma's. Private schools teach about 7% of Britain's children and supply roughly 2/3 of its senior judges. That is not a coincidence. That is the deck working. And Hugo, to be clear, is not a villain. Hugo is friendly, diligent, and entirely unaware of the second deck in his blazer pocket. The most powerful cards are the ones a player never has to look at. So what is privilege, actually? Strip away the word, and Arthur found only 4 things. Repeating. The first is schooling. Not only the fees kind, the tutors, the trips, the quiet confidence of it. The second is connections. Someone to ring, someone happy to have a look at the CV. The third is subtler, the dinner table education. Hugo grew up overhearing words like equity and pension, the way Danny overheard over time. And final notice. By 18, one of them speaks money as a first language. And the fourth is the strongest of all, the safety net. When Hugo takes a risk, quits a job, starts a company, failure means the spare room in Surrey and another go. When Danny takes the same risk, failure means the floor. People call the young rich fearless. It is easier to be fearless when the ground is soft. Entrepreneurs, the studies keep finding, are mostly people whose families could absorb a failure. What runs in the family is not courage, it is the net. And the penalties continue even after the climb. People from working-class homes who do reach the professions, law, medicine, finance, the media, earn on average around £6,000 a year, less than colleagues doing the very same job from wealthier homes. It has a name, the class pay gap, and it is measured, persistent, and never mentioned at the Christmas party. An accent alone can shorten an interview. And beneath the whole board runs the escalator. Since 2008, the average British wage, adjusted for prices, has barely moved. The longest pay squeeze in about 200 years. Millions of people are not standing still because they are idle. They are running hard up an escalator that is going down. How long does advantage last? Arthur went back to check. A long way back. In 1066, a few thousand men crossed the Channel and helped themselves to England. Economists have traced their surnames, the Darcys, the Percys, the Mandevilles, through 9 centuries of records, and found them still overrepresented at Oxford and Cambridge today, nearly 30 generations later. Whatever else you call that, you cannot call it a fresh start every generation. The oldest advantages in Britain were built by men with swords. They have been quietly maintained ever since. Back on the green, Danny has an idea. A good one. A small business, the sort Britain says it wants. He costs it out on the back of an envelope. 3 months of rent, some kit, a start. And there the idea ends. Not because it was wrong, because finding out requires a net he does not have. Hugo will never know whose idea was better. He could afford to try. Danny never could. That is the real price of starting poor, and it appears on no bill anywhere. The most expensive thing about being poor is that you cannot afford to discover what you are good at. And yet, rigged is not the same as fixed. There is a wide stretch of British working life where effort genuinely pays. Merit works where output can be counted and gatekeepers are few. The electrician whose work passes inspection or doesn't, the coder whose program runs or doesn't, the nurse, the plumber, the saleswoman with numbers next to her name. A scarce skill is rude enough to name its own price, whatever your accent. People really do rise through these lanes every year, and any honest account hands the meritocrats that point in full. Where merit stops working is at the edges, at the very top, where connections guard the doors, and at the very bottom, where the net is missing. The ceiling is sticky. So, unforgivably, is the floor. So what should a sensible player do with a board like this? Play it properly and without shame. Learn a skill that can be counted. Take every pound of pension. Match your employer offers. It is the one card in everyone's deck printed with free money. Keep a gap between what you earn and what you spend, however thin, and put it somewhere it compounds. Move towns if everything around you is stuck. Ask for the raise with Hugo's easy confidence. Nobody ever checks where confidence came from. None of this makes the game fair. It makes you dangerous inside an unfair one. And those are the only 2 options on the table. By dusk, the green had emptied. Arthur sat a while at the edge of the board, watching the last light cross squares that decide so much and ask so little permission. Michael Young lived long enough to watch his horror story become a national mission statement. In 2001, old and dismayed, he wrote one final plea. Would Britain kindly stop using his word as a compliment? Britain would not but you can. If money is tight this month, it is very unlikely to be because you are lazy or stupid or insufficiently entrepreneurial. In all probability, you are playing well on a hard square that was drawn long before you were born, and the shame you have been sold belongs to the board, not to you. Boards, after all, are not weather. They are made things, and made things can be remade. Arthur packed the pieces away, wound up his scarf, knitted by his grandmother, and therefore, he concedes, inherited advantage of the softest kind, and left the green with both dice in his pocket for tomorrow.